Good evening, my dear students. You all warmly welcome for the third lesson, Environmental Psychology. Actually, we have discussed about the behaviorism as well as the defense mechanism from the second lesson. And from first lesson, we have discussed about the introduction to psychology. Basically, we have defined what is meant by psychology. And we have discussed the contribution of Sigmund Freud for the psychology because he has created psychoanalytical theory covering through three important models, and we have discussed them in a very brief manner. But from second lesson, actually, we have discussed that psychoanalytical theory in a very detailed manner, like discussing we have discussed that the mind has consists with three parts: conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious, as well as we have discussed about the structure of the personality, the roles of ego and superego. Apart from that, we have discussed from psychosexual stages, the very important 5 stages. When we are discussing the structure of the psychology, that means when we are discussing ego and superego, we have realized that we have discussed that we have come to the conclusion that the anxiety is created because of the imbalance between id and superego. So therefore, as a solution for that, then ego has taken different actions through defense mechanism, and we have noted that the following or using this defense mechanism continuously for a person is truly bad for his or her personality. Okay, so therefore, that is the place where we have stopped. So today we'll be discussed a very important branch of psychology. Today we are going to discuss lesson number 3, environmental psychology. Actually, you may have, sometime you may have an idea, sometime may not, doesn't matter, my dear student. Let's try to have a, because this is not a very lengthy lesson, so sometime I might be able to cover this lesson from maximum from by taking 2 hours. It's not a problem, but anyhow, let's try to take what is the relationship between environmental and psychology. Why we are discussing this topic as a business management student or as a HRM undergraduates. What is the importance of this area? So let's discuss in a very simple as well as detailed manner. And basically what I want to tell you is environmental psychology is a branch of psychology. Because initially we have defined that psychology as like it's a scientific study of human mind and human behavior. So let's try to understand what is meant by environmental psychology, because most of the people have realized the very simple definition, or they have realized the means of psychology, environmental psychology, as it's like the a mutual relationship between environment and the human behavior. Because we know the environment can be built environment, or that means artificial environment, or natural environment. Because when we visiting different waterfalls or a forest, that is the natural environment where we are in that scenario. So when we are in a house or when we are visiting a park, we can see those are built environment. Those are artificial environment. So environment can be either artificial or natural, but anyhow, it is directly affect for a person's personality. So basically from environmental psychology, we try to understand the mutual interconnection or mutual relationship between environment and a person, because we know person is an open system. Why? Because when we take an individual, he or she may be definitely an open system. Why? Because a person should take air, water, shelter, and everything from the environment. So as well as then in the inner side of the body, the transformation process can be happen. Some systems are operating, but anyhow, we are dispatching some kind of unnecessary things from our body to the environment. So therefore, human body is not a closed system; it's an open system. So therefore, if it is an open system, then human beings are in open system. Therefore, we have definitely they are part of the environment. So therefore, we have to understand what kind of mutual relationship is existing in between these two important concepts, environment and human being. So from environmental psychology, let's try to understand what kind of mutual connection is existing in between environment and human being, or what kind of impact is there on individual behavior of a person or a human mindset. So basically, in here, I have used several times the mutual connection, because we know there is an impact from environment to human behavior, as well as there is an impact from human behavior to environment as well. Okay, please take that point into very correctly, because basically the very simple definition what we can give for environmental psychology, please write down. Environmental psychology is a scientific inquiry. It's a scientific inquiry. Environmental psychology is a scientific inquiry about the mutual connection between environment and human behavior. In here, the meaning of mutual connection is, there is an impact from environment on human behavior. On the other hand, there is an impact from behavior. There is an impact from human behavior and thoughts and emotions of human beings on environment. Because we know when we talk about psychology, it covers like behavior, thoughts, emotions, everything we are covering, thoughts and feelings. Okay, so therefore that's why I have included thoughts and feelings as well, because since we try to investigate the impact from human behavior, thoughts and emotion on environment. On the other hand, the impact of environment on human behavior, thoughts and emotion. Okay. So therefore, please include the impact from environment on not only human behavior. Please insert the impact from environment on human behavior, thoughts and feelings. Please insert that too, because the mutual connection, the meaning of the mutual connection is the investigating the impact from environment on human behavior, thoughts and emotion. On the other hand, the impact from human behavior, thoughts and emotion on environment. Okay, so let's try to, so from this lesson, intended learning outcome is, I believe you can see because I have already given this handout. So so after completion of this lesson, students should be able to define what is environmental psychology. They should be able to tell what is meant by environmental psychology. And they should be able to explain the importance of environmental psychology, as well as they should be able to discuss characteristic of environmental psychology and elaborate the important concept involved with this branch of psychology, that means environmental psychology. And finally, they should be able to discuss the application of environmental psychology. So these are the 5 important outcomes that we are expecting after covering this lesson from you, my dear student. I believe you can provide a very reasonable answer for this. Okay, before defining environmental psychology, I would like to show you a very small short video, it's like 2 minutes video. Hope you can see this.
Environmental psychology is a fairly new sub-discipline of psychology that is interdisciplinary and very applied. It looks at the relationship between humans and the environments that they live, work, and play in, including the built environment, but also the natural environment.
Yeah, so basically what she said is the environmental psychology focus on the relationship between environment and the human being, as well as when she's defining environment, it can be either built environment, that means artificial environment, as well as the natural environment. So this building is an artificial environment which comes under built environment, that since they are buildings.
Environmental psychology looks at ways in which we can improve the natural and the built environment to make it more optimal for the humans that live there or work there or play there.
So basically from environmental psychology, it focuses on how we can enhance the quality of this like built or a natural or a artificial environment for the benefit or for the development of for the positive impact on human beings' thoughts and emotions. So basically how we can upgrade the quality of the environment, which can take as a very good platform for people to live in a very harmonious mindset. Because we know either it can be natural environment or a built environment, we can upgrade the quality. So that's why environmental authority is exited in Sri Lanka to protect the environment, to protect the natural environment. So even though we are building several buildings, but there are different kind of terms and conditions they have imposed for different institutions or different businessmen, because in order to save the environment, for the present people as well as for the future generation. So therefore, we try to save the environment. On the other hand, we should take necessary action to upgrade the quality of the environment. Either it can be built or natural, but anyhow for the betterment of the human being.
And it incorporates subfields of psychology like social psychology and health psychology, cognitive and neuroscience, as well as some of the natural sciences like biology and chemistry, looking at ways in which we can make the environments better for, let's say, learning in a classroom, considering how students are sitting and how.
Basically, when we look at this classroom, it's not a natural, it's an artificial environment. So basically, in this environment, don't believe that environment is always comprised with trees, plants, and beautiful butterflies, flowers, etc. No, when we consider about this classroom also, it's also an environment, but it's not a natural, it's an artificial environment. So always we try to focus on how we have to make this environment like very attractive and user-friendly for the people, like students, to demonstrate their learning behavior in a very fruitful manner. Because we know people are demonstrating learning behavior in the classroom. So therefore, in order to facilitate this learning behavior, we have to take necessary action to upgrade the quality of this artificial environment to live in a very harmonious manner. Okay. Then let's try to understand this concept in a very detailed manner.
How close they are to their classmates and how accessible they are to the teacher may ultimately impact their learning. Or taking a walk out in nature might actually improve your mood and reduce your stress simply by being exposed to the natural environment itself. And so we can think about ways in which we can improve our environments by applying the principles of environmental psychology to the many settings that we go through in our daily lives.
Okay, so basically she tried to give what is meant by environmental psychology. Again, I will show you a very small video which explain what is environmental psychology. Let's try to have a very quick recap what it is all about.
When I first heard of environmental psychology, I thought of how building construction affects people.
I think about the importance of nature to our physical and mental health.
So initially what he thought that environmental psychology is about the environment which needed for a physical and mental well-being. So that is the way this the second speaker weaved the environmental psychology.
When I first heard about environmental psychology, I needed a psychology elective to fulfill my major requirement.
So what is environmental psychology, or EP? Well, the American Psychological Association describes it as a multidisciplinary field that investigates the effects of the environment on human behavior and welfare.
So basically, according to an American Psychological Association, APA, they have defined like environmental psychology as the investigation about the fact of the environment which have a tremendous impact on human behavior. So simply what we can tell that environmental psychology is all about to find out the relationship between environment and human being, thoughts and emotion. So basically we try to understand the impact from environment on human beings' behavior, thoughts and emotion. On the other hand, investigate the impact of human behavior, thoughts and emotion on environment. So basically we try to understand the mutual relationship between these two important aspects. So let's try to understand further.
On the first day of EP, I tell students that we will focus
In
on
here, EP mean environmental psychology, Putte.
interactions between individuals and their settings by examining how physical features of the natural and built environment impact our cognition, behavior, and well-being. And I ask students to consider the reciprocal nature of the human-environment relationship.
So why do we study environmental psychology? Well, it helps us to answer important questions, like how do people find their way when they are lost? Or why do I always feel so anxious when on a crowded subway?
If you're like me, you want to know how to design a workspace that helps to increase your productivity or minimize.
Basically, when we talk about an organization context, this environmental psychology help us how we can increase the quality of the workplace, like the size of the cubicle or a temperature or a lighting or any other important aspects. How we can upgrade the quality of the environment where employees are living for what to increase their productivity, because some employees are telling that their environment is not conducive, that their environment is not user-friendly, that the environment is not consist with the required materials, machines, and the temperature, lighting, and humidity, etc. So basically, we have to ensure that the environment where employees are living is very conducive or supportive for their job, for their activity.
Minimize distractions such as noise.
That means simply it should be free from distractions, should be free from noise and unhealthy substances.
When working from home.
Environmental psychology also explores how natural settings can foster healing and promote stress reduction. In fact, a landmark study published by Roger Ulrich in 1984 found that patients who were recovering from surgery spent far less time in the hospital when they had a view of trees outside their window compared to patients who had a view of a brick wall.
Because now doctors, they or medical practitioners, they have realized when students, when patients have undergone for different operations, actually they are very keen interesting to have a very nice view after their operation, because they believe that the pain that they are suffering with their operations are really healing when there is a nice view in their rooms. So therefore, even though patients have understood, even though they are suffering with big pain, the importance of this environment, because it heals their pain, and it is a very good experience for them to recover their pain.
So how do we study EP? Laboratory experiments may be the gold standard for psychology, but EP often relies on field research methods such as naturalistic observation and field experiments.
So simply like naturalistic observation, some researchers may use paper and pencil to record observed data, while others may use digital tools, tablets. So therefore, naturalistic observation involves systematic watching of people as they behave in a particular space. So simply, let's say now organization have provided a space for them to have some kind of chat, or have the coffee or a snack during their working hours. So most of the time, there are set of people, it's a natural observation, like systematic watching how people behave in the particular space. Are they very comfortable? If not, what kind of considerations or a concern coming from their side to upgrade the quality of the environment? Because we have seen, my dear students, most of the organization in Sri Lanka, when we enter into the organization, we feel that the environment is very conducive, very natural looking, because they have kept like plants, or a very greeny environment is there. Why? Because they believe for a set of employees, the mental healthiness is somewhat very important for their productivity. So always space, like space of the organization, sometimes the different kind of techniques that they are using, dressing room or changing room, washing room, waiting room. So these places, they try to design as much as they can uh, according to the requirement of the people who are visiting that place. So therefore, people need a space. Have a very sufficient space is needed for them to do their job. So therefore, they have most of the organization, they try to understand the place attachment. They have identified the place attachment happens when there is a very conducive environment. So simply the place attachment, like the psychological attachment to a place. Because as an example, since I'm a lecturer senior lecturer in the University of Kelaniya, when I'm visiting my department, my faculty, my university, I have very totally different feeling. Why? Because I believe that I have very good emotional attachment to my university. So that is called place attachment, because that psychological attachment will tremendously support for set of people to do their job very well. It's really important to increase the productivity of the people. So therefore, this person-space relationship is somewhat very important. So therefore, organization should take necessary action to increase or conceive to support for the place attachment as much as they can. It's really important.
With naturalistic observation, the researcher may try to conceal their presence so as not to interfere.
This is an example for naturalistic observation here. Because without informing to the others, she's recording naturally she's observing what others do in this park.
Being observed or listening a response. This method may have a higher degree of external validity because the observation occurs in a real-world setting.
A field experiment is one that is conducted in a naturally occurring setting.
That means field experiments can be conducted. That means we can physically visit different places, and we can see whether the environment is suitable for them to live. Actually, whether the environment is suitable for them to create a very happy environment. So we can visit washing rooms, we can visit waiting rooms and other places, or like lobby, or the cubicles and the other places where people are visiting, the common places. Then we can see whether that place is sophisticated, or whether in those places all the required materials and machines and other equipments are available.
For example, researchers have tested whether using a virtual reality simulation can reduce anxiety in patients before a dental procedure.
Believe it or not, environmental psychologists also conduct survey research.
That's right.
The use of surveys in environmental psychology may yield valuable insights about how people perceive or
This is one
utilize
of
their
an
surroundings.
way they are doing their. This is one of a way that they are doing different research on environmental psychology. That means to investigate whether they are really happy. Please read, my student. Following are the number of activities. Here, following are the number of activities next to each one. Select the number of a situation you would most prefer as an environment for the activity. So like simply then we try to get read for the following situation. You are at home and you are completely alone. Okay, you are completely alone. This is, imagine that you are at this situation. You are at home and you are completely alone. You are at home and there are people around who can either see or hear you. Then you are at somebody else's place with the knowledge or permission, but it is a place you have never seen before and you are completely alone. You are at somebody else's place with their knowledge and permission, but it is a place you have never seen before and there are people around us who can either see or hear you. Actually, so why they have given like 4 options, sometime in an organization or in an environment or either in a built or a natural environment, these are the 4 possible situations where you can be. Like sometime you may be completely alone. Sometime you are at home, but there are people around you. Okay, either you can see or hear you. Sometimes there's somebody, you are visiting somebody else's place with the permission and knowledge, but it is a place where you never seen before, and you are completely alone. Sometimes you may have gone to your friend's place, but she's not at home, but she has kept her key and she has told you that key is in that pot. So take it and please be seated. I'll come within 5 minutes. So it's relevant for the 3rd situation. But when we talk about 4th place, you are at somebody else's place with their knowledge and permission, but it is a place you have never seen before. And there are people around who can either see or hear you. Because let's say the 4th example, you have gone to your friend's place and you have entered into her house, but this is the first time that you have visited there, and her mother, parents, her mother and mother's parents and siblings are at the place where you have visited. So imagine that where you are right now, and then instruction following are the number of activities next to each one. Select the number of situation you would most prefer. So like this is like opinion survey as an environment for that activity. So please tick the situation you would most prefer as an environment for that activity. Selected from the 4 above. So if you may like select out of these 4 situations, select one and take that point into account, and then you are required to select which you would most prefer as an environment for that activity. Let's say we have selected like you are at somebody's place, but it is a place you have never seen before, and there are people around who can either see or hear you. So 4th situation. So you have to select. Let's see.
This student is taking a survey about their territorial and privacy preferences for engaging in different behaviors like eating a meal, singing, or reading a book.
That's just a brief overview of EP and some of the methods we use to explore our research questions. In our next episode, we're going to talk about virtual workspace.
Until then, here are some readings to check out.
So if you are really interested about the environmental psychology, there are some sources have been provided. Actually, you can, there are some links as well, HTTP links, you can click them, and some books have been given, several authors have been provided. If you are really interested, in order to get a more knowledge about environmental psychology, you can read these books. It's an additional information for you, my dear student. But anyhow, let's try to define what is meant by environmental psychology. Since we came to the conclusion that environmental psychology is all about a scientific inquiry and that means mutual connection between environment and human behavior, emotion, and thoughts. Okay, simply let's try to understand what is, in a very proper manner, what is meant by environmental psychology. According to the Journal of Environmental Psychology, the environmental psychology has been defined. It's a scientific study of the transactions and the interrelationship between people and their physical surrounding. Okay, this physical surrounding can be either built or a natural environment, as we very correctly said. So please highlight these 2 points. Either it can be built a natural environment, and it's an interrelationship between people and their physical surrounding. So physical surrounding can be either built or natural. So interrelationship like mutual relationship, the use and abuse of the nature or natural resources and sustainability related behavior. So basically, the very simple definition for this, like environmental psychology, it's a scientific study of the interrelationship between people and their physical surrounding. So in here, people mean, please underline these people and write down interrelationship between people, behavior, underline people and write down behavior, thoughts, and emotions. That is a very important area. So in other words, environmental psychology is all about the interplay between people and their environment. As a field, it seeks to understand how and why our environment impact us. How this environment impact on, please underline impact us, write down how and why our environment impact on human behavior, thoughts, and emotion. It seeks to understand how the environment impact human behavior, thoughts, and emotion, and how we can leverage that knowledge to our advantage. Like, let's say, once we have get an idea about how this physical environment affects, either it can be built or a natural. When we know that it is positively affect for our behavior, then we can get the advantage of that knowledge, and what we can do to improve our relationship with the world around us. So as a result of that knowledge, we can improve the relationship between environment and people, or we can improve the interrelationship between environment and people with the world around us. As an example, let's say like that. Now, when we have investigating whether the environment is supportive for the human behavior, thoughts, and emotion, we have noted the working environment in our workplace, that environment is not supportive, that it's not eye-catching, it's very, that space is not sufficient, the temperature is not appropriate for a human body, and the lighting is not appropriate for the eyes for the workers. Then we can propose different kind of changes to that environment. For what? We can improve that environment. We can address the drawbacks, or we can address the weak points of that environment. For what? To have very proper to provide a very sound support from environment to people. For what? To perform well in that particular environment. Because we know, let's say, when we talk about a classroom, so when we have realized that the space of the classroom is not sufficient for the students, as well as the whiteboards and the partitions, as well as the lighting and the fans or AC are not appropriate for the number of students in the class, then we can adjust. We can increase the number of fans, we can expand the classroom, removing the partitions, then we can increase the number of digital screens according to the nature of the classroom. So likewise, we can propose different kind of changes. For what? To upgrade the quality of the human behavior, to upgrade the learning behavior of the students, to support the learning behavior of the student, to support the positive feeling and emotions of the students in the classroom. It is directly affect for their learning process. So therefore, always we have to understand whether the environment is conducive, whether the environment is supportive for a different kind of people who are existing, who are getting benefit from that area. So let's try to have a small, let's end part one of this environmental psychology, since we have defined what is meant by psychology. So we can tell environmental psychology is a scientific study of investigating the interrelationship between people and their physical surrounding. In here, physical surrounding meaning either can be built or a natural environment. But when we talk about interrelationship between people mean Simply we try to understand the impact of this physical surrounding on people, behavior, their thoughts and emotions. Their behavior, feelings, and their emotions. And then on the other hand, we try to understand how this environment, we try to scientifically investigate how the environment affects people, behavior, thoughts, and emotion. On the other hand, we try to investigate how the thoughts, feelings, behavior of people affect how the behavior, thoughts, emotions of people can improve the quality of the physical surrounding to have a very proper relationship between these two important areas, that mean environment and people. So let's try to end the part 1 of environmental psychology after the definition. From second part, let's try to understand what is meant by environmental psychology. What is the importance of environmental psychology for people, why people should learn this subject as a branch of psychology, and how people will be benefited from this course, from this subject, and how environment can be benefited from the knowledge acquiring by the people on environmental psychology. So let's meet from part 2. So thank you for being with me during these 30 minutes.